marches on, ladies and gentlemen. I played Tim Boggan 51 years ago.
Who won? Change the book.
Tim Boggan. I played Jack Howard 50 years ago. I lost. I won. I met my wife Sarah in 1963.
Who won?
If we had had a child that year, he could play in this year's senior events. So please forgive me if I reminisce. Those years were very important to me, and they seem so very long ago. This evening I'm going to borrow a few words from Heroes of the Hall by Sporting News editor Ron Smith. Some memories soar through time like a Miles Reisman final. Few athletic feats remain as captivating as Johnny Someo's 20-13 in the fifth comeback in the 1944 finals. As uncompromising as Bernie Bouquet's impregnable block defense. The U.S. Table Tennis Hall of Fame is nothing if not inspiration. A fraternity of warriors who have earned their immortality with heavy doses of sweat, tears, and unyielding passion. It is a tribute to the talented and persistent men and women of our sport, and honors personalities, passions, memorable matches, and a tunnel vision pursuit of athletic excellence. The Hall of Fame is about images and memories, sights and sounds, passed through generations with pride and enthusiasm. It's about two-time world champion Ruth Aarons and the fighting spirit of five-time national champion Sally Green Prouty. It's about 13-year-old Patty Martinez denying Leah Newberger her 10th U.S. Open from 2015 down in the fifth. It's the incredible world championships of Jimmy McClure and Buddy Blattner, of McClure and Sal Schiff, of Dick Miles and Tybee Thal, of Erwin Klein and Leah Thal Newberger. Just mention the Hall of Fame and your mind is flooded with the kill shots and impossible saves of Billy Holzrichter and Daljun Lee, of Danny Seamiller, Bobby Gusikoff. Some say table tennis is a small sport, insignificant in the larger scope of major athletics. To this I say nonsense, ridiculous. Jack Howard and Husheng Borzegzadi will stand side by side forever on the top of the podium beside Babe Ruth and Jim Brown. Barbara Kaminsky and Donna Sakai will stand side by side forever on top of the podium beside Babe Dietrichson, Zaharias, and Martina Navratilova. Every Hall of Famer from 7-foot Will Chamberlain to 5-foot Louis Pagliaro, from Wayne Gretzky to Mike Dempsey, will all stand equally on that podium of immortality. The U.S. Table Tennis Hall of Fame is a vital part of American table tennis and American sport. The best in every sport are known simply by the title Hall of Famer. I have personally spoken to Ernie Banks and Sid Luckman, to Ferguson Jenkins and Bobby Hull, and to the great Walter Payton. These men all told me that their induction into the Hall of Fame was their most important achievement, more important than 500 home runs or 100 touchdowns, more important than a national title or a world record. And Ron Santo of the Chicago Cubs lists his failure to be inducted as his biggest disappointment in life. Some Hall of Fame inductions charge hundreds of dollars for tickets and still feature turn-away crowds. We do okay. We charge less for our banquet than a good dinner costs us back home. And we usually fill up our space, but it does take a little convincing to do so every year. Tonight, I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every Hall of Famer who was here, supporting our induction ceremony, whether or not they have a close friend being enshrined. You didn't have to come tonight, but here you are. And I not only applaud you, but I'm going to thank each of you personally in a more concrete way. I'm going to call the names of all the Hall of Famers who are here tonight. And I would appreciate it if you would come up to the podium. Well, you don't have to, Mary. I'm going to run over there. Are you kidding me? If I forget somebody, please stand up. Jimmy McClure. Yay! Round of applause for everybody. Marty Reisman. Barbara Kaminsky. Tim Boggan. Husheng Bozorgzade. Jack Howard. Mary McElwain. Donna Sakai. Neil Smythe. Judy Bohensky Horfrost. George Hendry. I think that's everybody. Have I missed anybody? Who's here now?
Almighty Father of us all, we thank you for being here with us tonight. We ask you to bless not only those who are in the Hall of Fame, but those who could not be here at this dinner for various reasons. We thank you for the crew in the kitchen that are going to serve us our dinner, to make us better in mind, soul, body, to serve you and each other better. We thank you, dear Jesus, for all that are here tonight. Amen.
All right.
Thank you, Mary. And if you haven't already started, let's eat.
Were you younger then?
He's so much older than he's younger than them now.
Tonight's first inductee is David Zhuang. David Zhuang moved to the United States from China in 1990 and became a citizen in 1996. He has won the national championship 4 times and has also won 6 men's doubles titles and 6 mixed doubles titles. In 1997, he won the prestigious consolation event in the World Championships.
Let's have a drink together.
Yeah, talk about it.
He has twice been a member of the United States Olympic team. In 1999, David was the Pan American Games men's singles champion.
Yay, David.
Mr. Boggan will conduct this from now on.
I thought you were going to go through all 4 first.
Well, you thought wrong.
Yeah, I want you to do that. Go through all 4 first.
I mean, we had a meeting and went off through this.
Well, that's the way I got the slot.
That's the way it's supposed to go. Okay. Okay. This is very, very confusing. We'll speak.
You can handle it.
Okay.
Next guy.
Second game.
Next guy.
Three Hodges. Very That's the old circus.
Well, that's a great picture.
Larry Hodges' resume reads just a little bit shorter than Tim Boggan's history of USATT.
All right.
But he will be most remembered as the longtime editor of Table Tennis Topics, or whatever silly name our national publication has been called. His resume includes USATT Coaching Committee Chairman, Tournament Director, Promoter, Author, USATT Club Programs Director, USATT League Director, and many-time National Hardbat Champion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, That's it? That's it. Next guy?
Oh, yeah. That's an amazing backhand ball.
I've done a little research, and unless I'm mistaken, which of course I never am, there has never been an American Sports Hall of Fame that has inducted 3 members of the same family. Tonight that changes. Eric Boggan joins his brother Scott and his dad Tim in the U.S. Table Tennis Hall of Fame.
Yay!
After a gazillion boys and junior titles, Eric won the U.S. Closed twice and was runner-up 5 times. He is the only native-born American to win the U.S. Open in almost 40 years. He was ranked 18th in the world, the highest American ranking since 1959. Eric was certainly a slam dunk for the Hall of Fame. We were merely waiting for his 40th birthday, so happy birthday, Eric. Anybody who's at this Hall of Fame dinner tonight who doesn't know who that is ought to pay double. I don't mean the guy on the left. The guy, I'm talking about the guy on the right. You don't know who the guy on the right is?
Yes.
In 1999, Mark Matthews, who as Marcus Schussheim was our very first national champion, generously donated the Mark Matthews Cup to be awarded annually for lifetime achievement in American table tennis. The winners so far have been Bobby Gusikoff, Saul Schiff, Jimmy McClure, and Dick Miles. This year's recipient, Marty Reisman, if nothing else, personifies the term lifetime achievement. In 1946 and 1947, Marty was the U.S. Open Junior Champion. Almost 55 years later, he won the over 70 national title. In between, he toured the world with the Harlem Globetrotters, won 2 U.S. Opens, ran the famous New York Table Tennis Club, and found the time to write that table tennis classic, The Money Player. If that's not worth an award for lifetime achievement, what is?
Yeah. Yeah. Here's Larry Hodges, out of Adelphi, Maryland, a junior high track star with ambitions. He's a miler, and if you run with him a while, he'll soon be 16 on his high school track team, and ambitious enough to go to the local library for a book on track and field. In the stacks, I happened to look to my left, he said, and there was a book on table tennis, The Money Player by Marty Reisman.
That kid has good taste, I'll tell you.
I had been playing basement ping pong at a neighbor's house, and spur of the moment checked the book out. Perhaps, Larry thought, this fellow Reisman was a spokesperson for the USTTA.
Sorry, you and I have finished forever.
For through the book, Larry was made aware of the association, and on contacting them, he was directed to a local club. A month or 2 or 3 go by. It's still 1976, but already, as Larry relates in a letter of protest to Saul Schiff, he has a table tennis Mayday experience in Philadelphia. Tournament director Herb Vickman takes exception to Larry's 1148 rating. Says he's watched him, that he's a 1400 player. who's just trying to win the handicap event. Larry says, "You probably think my parents would lie about it." Here, just in passing, let me introduce you to Larry's parents. There they are, Elaine and Ron, and Larry's brother David on the right. And a more sinister-looking group with Elaine and Ron and Larry's brother David there, with the family.
His name is Steve, my brother.
What's your brother's name?
Steve. That's my doubles partner.
Steven.
Like my doubles partner.
All right, okay. It's okay. In any event, they got the guard dog there. It's all, you know, a sinister-looking group you never want to meet. So says Larry to Herb, "Would you believe me if I got Mr. Kaminsky or the Crow Lodges from my New Carrollton club to say I was 1148? No, said Victor. Do you think they lie about it? Yes, said Victor. Larry goes to the phone, calls home, asks his mother to call several members of the New Carrollton club. Jim Mossberg verifies to Mother Elaine that Larry indeed has an 1148 rating. Thank goodness. Now, will Mr. Vickman please talk to my mother? Reluctantly, yes. So what does Herbie say finally? That Larry can't play with his 1148 rating. I tell this story because it so typifies the Larry I know. He's compulsive about truth and accuracy, can't stand what he thinks is an injustice, especially to him, and argues his views rationally and persistently. Rationally and persistently. Rationally and, for God's sake, enough, Larry, enough! Larry's rating steadily rises from 1475 in 1977 to over 2,000 in 1980. Along the way, he shows a pretty good forehand.
Who is that guy?
He's fond of playing at Bowie Martin's club in Wilson, North Carolina. At tournaments there, both in 78 and 79, he and Sean O'Neill excelled in doubles. One time winning from 2011 match point down in the fifth. When tournament director Tom Poston asked Larry what made him and Sean such an effective team, Larry said that they complemented each other well. He, Larry, was nearly 20 and acts 12, and Sean was nearly 12 and acts 20. Now, granted, Larry had been winning event after event. I ask you, does he look the least bit juvenile in this Rich Martin photo? Actually, as we'll see, this boyish playfulness, this wackiness, will later help him be one of the two best editors of the USTTA magazine we've ever had. As well as an accomplished exhibitionist, though here I think he just slipped and fell. I'd mentioned before that Larry was a miler. In the summer of 1980, he went to Zoran Kasanovich's training camp, and as no matches were played until the 10th day, you can imagine the emphasis Zoki, a former Yugoslav international and U.S. and Canadian Open champion, put on physical fitness. Larry's endurance, quickness, flexibility, and strength was tested. Uh-oh, Larry was 2 minutes late one day. That meant, said Zoki, or his assistant torturer Cameron Scott, that he had to run an extra 2.5 miles. But Larry survived, and 2 weeks after the sprints, the runs, the endless calisthenics and drills, Larry would be Perry Schwartzberg's assistant coach for a clinic at the Bowie Martin Butterfly Club in Wilson. After that, it was off to the University of Maryland, where of course he quickly formed and for 4 years remained president of the University Table Tennis Club. Larry would major in, can you tell? This slide reads, from 15 all, your chances of winning are? Larry's a math major and has worked out a chart from any score from 15 all, assuming both players are equal. I'll not go into the formulas, but if you're down 16-18 in a game to 21, Larry says you've got a 24.2 chance of winning. But maybe best to forget that. Coaching, perhaps more than playing, is what Larry's into now. He begins writing articles for the USTTA magazine, stepping around the backhand corner, high toss serves, smashing the lob. Compulsively, he'll keep track of every article he ever wrote. As of 2 months ago, he'd published 811 articles, and since then has perhaps added a couple hundred more. Of course, for a few years there, he had to study, get his bachelor's degree. As I say, in math, but with concentrations in chemistry and computer science. He also finds time for a few extracurricular activities. Here he is winning the 1983 Intramural Arm Wrestling Championships. After he graduates, she becomes manager director of the USATT Resident Training Program at Colorado Springs. That's Larry far to the left. Todd Swears is in the back row under S. Larry later wrote an article called How a Toddler Grew Up at the RTP. Got it? Naturally, at the RTP, Larry has to establish order, show the kids who's boss.
That's a great picture.
That's one of my favorites. By the beginning of the 1990s, Larry, a natural organizer, has become chair of the USATT coaching committee and has published an 86-page manual and instructor's guide to table tennis. He also becomes chair of the USATT club committee. In the spring of '91, on a platform stressing clubs and coaching, he runs for USATT vice president and is elected. Clubs, he says, are the backbone of the USTTA, not tournaments. But until we have 1,000 or so clubs out there, we will continue to have internal problems. The USATT needs to focus on creating more clubs, more leagues, more coaches. He pushes for a club catalyst and creation program, a league incentive program, and a coach's availability network to answer everyone's question, where can I get coaching? His 1991 Table Tennis Steps to Success comes out with chapters on attack, loopers, hitters, counter drivers, and defense, blockers, choppers, lobbers. Quiet, please! It stresses how to play against combination rackets, anti-spin, long pips, and offers tips on doubles play. In the next 12 years, he'll sell almost 20,000 copies. One of the added features of the book that I like is where Larry goes Reisman and his cigarette trick one better. Note the precision with which he has to hit that little mat. He's also very interested in junior promotion, and some of the many articles he writes have to do with spotlighting juniors. Indeed, he's written primers for beginning classes and junior training programs, and just recently has been the creator of a nationwide USATT league with a league rating system that allows anyone playing anywhere to join through online participation. As current national programs director, he urges others to recruit juniors to their club. Have a program, he says, and promote the program. Accent on press releases, flyers to schools, rec centers, Ys, boys and girls clubs. Larry's longtime interest in helping juniors extends to doing exhibitions with them. Here he is with a young Han Shao, currently grown up to be the U.S. national doubles champion with his mentor, Chen Yinghua. Larry enjoys making table tennis fun. One of his early 90s articles was called Exhibition Tricks. It's a miniature compendium of clownish advice, how to play the straight man or the fool. Don't just lob, he says, be theatrical. Eat a candy bar while casually lobbing. Then when you're done, toss the wrapper over your shoulder and get serious, counter kill. Larry also likes to blow the ball back to his opponent. This is really easy to do. The danger in blowing the ball too hard off the end, that's the danger. When you do that, you say very loudly, "Oops, I blew that one." He says you can also hold the audience's attention by blowing the ball in the air and balancing it over your head. This takes a lot of practice. Make sure to blow steadily, not in jerks. My single favorite exhibition trick, he says, was when I lay down on the floor at a basketball game halftime, blew a ball in the air, and had a local golf pro smash the ball out of the air with his driver. Larry wants to give the illusion, especially to the golf pro, that the ball is not moving, is stopped, as in this slide, like the clock. Under President Danny C. Miller, Larry, in January 1992, becomes editor of the USATT magazine. With his graduate degree in journalism, he's a natural for the job, and in the 4 years that follow, he writes a myriad of articles having to do with US Open and closed championships, many other tournaments, player profiles and interviews, and analyses of individual techniques, the backhand loop of Chen Ning-Hua, for example. For a number of years, Larry shared extensive coaching duties at the Maryland Table Tennis Center with fellow prestigious coaches Chen and Jack Huang. Here they are together in younger days. That's Jack on the left, Chen on the right.
Next. Okay.
Chen's on the right. Jack's on the left. Okay. And here's Larry dutifully practicing his drop shots into that little box. Doing well, too. Larry's very proud of the young Maryland players at his club. In August of 1994, Larry goes as head coach to the King Car International Youth City Championships in Taipei with U.S. team leader and sponsor Dr. Zhuang. The way stop in Alaska makes the 46th state Larry's visited through table tennis. Of course, he's so compulsive, he'll get to 4 more, maybe 5. Editor Hodges, after increasing the ad revenue for the USTTA magazine from $2,300 an issue to $5,600 an issue during his 4-year tenure, was abruptly relieved of his editorship. Not missing a beat, he started in January 1996 his own magazine. We're both reminded of how when after 13 years as editor I was fired, I'd started my own magazine. Here, held up side by side, are our first issues. Larry's magazine is far superior to the USATT's, but he can't get enough subscribers, has to abandon it after 3 issues. Fortunately for him and us, he was reinstated as editor in the summer of '99, and now also serves as the association's webmaster, or co-webmaster. Larry is one of those rare official contributors to the sport who, in addition to being ubiquitous at a tournament directors meeting, a coaches meeting, a USATT board of directors meeting, is also a player. One who can win US Open and closed championships, specifically in classic hardbat singles and doubles. Here he is with Ty Hoff, smashing viciously as Steve Oh, that's Larry, yeah, that's Larry at the computer, right? Here he is, smashing viciously at Steve Berger and partner, unidentified, but apparently ranked number 624 in the U.S. and here again, accepting the spoils of the match. Larry, I might add, is a member of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America. And sometimes that fantasy fiction influence on him can be seen on court. Here he attempts a magic spell that will levitate the ball. Larry's involvement in table tennis has long been a labor of love. He works to get reports from every area of the country and longs for variety, a longing reflected in a They Said It column, or in a limerick contest, or in a Table Tennis Goes to the Movies or TV Land article. In addition to the straight reporting, here he is interviewing recent U.S. World Quarter finalist Gao Jun. He's always imaginatively thinking up things, often offbeat, to make the magazine more interesting. Sponge is terrible, says a fellow who prefers old-fashioned pimpled rubber. That's all Larry needs for an article. Out of the mundane, the conception quickly comes. Creatively, he lists 10 reasons why sponge is important. Pimpled rubber cake, taste like rubber. Pimpled rubber baths hurt and leave abrasions on the skin. A child with an absorbent mind like pimpled rubber will probably be in trouble. You can't pimple rubber off a friend. Indefatigably playful or serious, Larry hustles. And with his versatility and wealth of table tennis knowledge accumulated over a quarter of a century, he continues to be, as he is tonight, at the very center of U.S. table tennis. Ladies and gentlemen, our second worthy Hall of Fame inductee of the evening, Larry Hodges.
Where's mine?
Get out of here.
We want Todd Swearis. Where is Todd? We want Todd Swearis to present the award to Larry Hodges.
Whoa.
On behalf of USA Table Tennis, we're happy to give you a lifetime membership and maybe editorship. I can announce that Larry's contract has been extended 4 years.
I got a lifetime membership and a new tie out of this. Right now, I believe all eyes are looking at this right here and thinking, is Larry about to read this thing on? It is. I think all eyes right now are on this long document here thinking, is Larry going to read this thing? Actually, this is Tim Boggan's recent rant of the teams. Sure. This actually is the contract that I just got approved. Sherry already mentioned it. So I just got another contract through 2008, and I was just told that this morning. So that's what this actually is.
Read it.
Independent contractor agreement for USATT. All right, I'll put that in. Tim Boggan earlier told you the story of Marty Reisman and how I got started. How I just happened to look to my left. Okay, and it's just coincidence. I could have looked over to my right, and instead I'd be before you today being inducted into the Unicycle Hall of Fame because news over here. Instead, it was table tennis. There are a few other things. My parents, by the way, which for once in their lives are off to the right over here. Normally, they're a little more to the left. As in the last election, they decided all three people, Gore, including Gore and what was it, Bush? Ralph Nader. And Ralph Nader were way too conservative. So they're usually off to the left, right now to the right. But that influence might be why I looked to my left and got the Marty Reisman book instead of looking to the right and getting the unicycling book. What Tim also didn't mention is that many years later, when I was editor of the magazine, I met met Marty Reisman. At that time, I had never really met him. All I'd seen him, we'd said hi. And I told him how I got started in table tennis. And I told him how his book got me started. Otherwise, right now, I'd be some math professor in some place making lots of money and having Instead, I got into table tennis. His exact words to me were, "Great, another life I've ruined." Thanks, Marty. Okay.
Welcome to the club.
I did mention my parents over there. My parents, some people came a long ways here just to see me in a tie. In 1979, I left home for the first time. Now, some of you may know that I wear a tie once every 5 years, max. I think I wore a tie 3 years ago. Before that, I went 5 years. When I left home in 1979, my mom is a scientific illustrator. And she knew suits, barfly equipment, basically a lot of barfly stuff. And it's kind of ironic because My dad is one of the top authorities on Lepidoptera in the world. And for you amateurs, Lepidoptera means butterflies and moths. So my parents are right over there. They're not table tennis players, but they do know a lot about butterflies and scientific illustration. There are a few other people I just want to take some time out and just mention. My first coach has been here every year. Today he's not here, Bob Kaminsky. Barbara Kaminsky is here. The first time I ever went to a club was 1976, shortly after Marty ruined my life. It's a New Carrollton club.
Need company.
I walked into the club, and the first thing I saw, and keep in mind, though, I went in there, I was the hotshot neighborhood champ. Okay, I walked into the club, and there was Bob Kaminsky playing Herb Horton. Herb Horton's a chopper. Bob Kaminsky was just killing every ball, and Herb was chopping every ball back. And that's why I now have this hard bat forehand, because I developed a hit instead of a loop. It took me 5 years to learn how to loop because of that. But if Bob was here tonight, I'd mention that, though. Another person not here tonight is Dan Seamiller. He's doing a coaching clinic right now. But Danny was I went to all of his camps in the 70s and 80s. In 1991, he hired me as an assistant coach. And from then on, I've been doing many, many things. He helped me a lot in my career. Taught me, he was my first many camps, and of course, assistant coach as well.
Where's Danny?
Danny, unfortunately, is doing the USATT coaching seminar tonight, so he couldn't make it here tonight. In 1991, December, I got a phone call out of the blue from Dave Sakai, who's over there, who he perked up suddenly. I think he was asleep. Apparently, David pitched the idea to Danny Seamiller of hiring me as the editor of the magazine. It was out of the blue. I was all set to go become a math professor or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, so Dave and Donna was on the board. They helped push it through, and I became that's how I first became the editor. So Dave and Donna helped out a lot with that. Yeah. Many years, that was when Danny was president as well. Yeah. Of course, the person who's probably the most influenced was one of the top 2 editors in table tennis history, Tim Boggan. How many articles have you had published, Tim?
I don't know. I started to count them, but it seemed like a tremendous task, and
I've got 841, but I've got a long ways to go. Okay. Anyway, there's a lot of other people I'd like to thank. Todd, of course, was retired from table tennis pretty much, and basically when he heard I was going to be here, he decided he had to be here, and that's why he came back out of retirement. He's now getting ready to play David Zhuang in the quarters if they make it that far. We'll see. He hasn't had a lot of practice. Darren Narantam also. Todd and Darren grew up in Colorado when I was the manager there, and Darren had to come out here for this also, just to see me in a tie. Okay. Anyway. There's a lot of other people I'd like to thank. Sherry, of course, was one of the ones who was instrumental in my being hired back. Dora was writing my case around the clock, keeping me working day and night. Anyway, if there's anyone else I forgot, I do apologize for that, but I do very much appreciate this, and I want to thank you all for this. And I do want to point out one thing. David Zhuang is being inducted as a player. Eric Boggan is being inducted as a player. I think I'm the only one at this Nationals who's won 2 titles so far. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Don't forget your tie, guys.